Welcome to the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar. Enjoy listening and watching as addiction experts Mark Sheeran and I cover controversial as well as helpful topics on addiction, how to move past it, and other related subjects. As two of the co-founders of the Freedom Model, Mark and I will give you a completely new perspective on the topics that matter to you. We will take to task the Recovery Society's lies and misinformation and replace them with facts, research, and the methods to move on from addiction struggles without 12-step meetings, rehabs, and the shackles of endless recovery. Let's escape the treatment and recovery trap together and learn to be free. Welcome to the truth. Hey, everybody. Our goal has always been to provide you with a solution to addiction that doesn't require you to go to rehab, do any steps, or go to meetings.
Or even be stuck on MAT regimens for the rest of your life either. And we built a workshop that we did last week and the week prior. We did 4 of them, and we picked the best one for you. And so it's a 2.5-hour workshop. It's called The Solution to Addiction. And it's amazing. We cover how to deconstruct your binge construct, why you do the things you do, because that's one of the questions we get all the time. Why do I keep doing this? And we give the answer for that. And we give the solution, a way out, a path out that makes sense.
Absolutely. When you get the Solution to Addiction course, we now have it as a course, and you can go right to thefreedommodel.org. It's right at the top. It says the Solution to Addiction. When you get it, you also get the Solution to Addiction book that we just wrote and the accompanying workbook. And you get the Freedom Model for Addictions book and the Freedom Model for the Family as well within that course module.
Yeah. So you literally have all the information, plus we teach you, and it's a really empowering, powerful course.
It is. So go to thefreedommodel.org or go right into the Freedom Model mobile app. And you'll see that if you hit, I think, the Discover, you'll see that we have the Solution to Addiction there for you.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Addiction Solution. I'm Michelle Dunbar.
And I'm Mark Sheeran. And we wrote the Freedom Model for Addictions, Escape the Treatment and Recovery Trap, along with our colleague, Stephen Slate.
And we also created the Solution to Addiction workshops. We now have a new live workshop for just substance use coming up here in the next few days. That'll be actually it's next week on the 17th. It's a Wednesday. Go to thefreedommodel.org to enroll in that right now. Make sure you choose the live workshop if that's the one you want. We also have a pre-recorded one that you can get as well if you don't want to participate in the live workshop. But if you come to the live workshop, you'll get to talk directly with us.
Yeah. And so what are we talking about today?
We are talking about, this was a topic that was brought up in our group by one of our podcast listeners.
It's pretty smart. This is pretty smart.
Smart one. And it is like the intense gaslighting that happens when you go to addiction treatment and 12-step programs and support groups, and pretty much any addiction help program in the world other than the Freedom Model for the most part. And that is that they demand, right, that you rigorous honesty.
Rigorous honesty.
While at the same time you're living a lie.
Yeah. So the entire premise of the model that's touting that you have to be honest is an untruth. And that is the disease concept, and everything that comes downstream from that untruth, then you're constantly chasing your tail with things that aren't solutions.
Right.
It literally creates a charade that's a goose chase in search of a solution. And so what recovery becomes is this endless role playing.
Yeah.
And where you're told you have to do meetings and protocols and be honest, rigorously honest about your whole life. And you have to pray away your problem and all these different things because you have a disorder. And none of this is real. None of this is true. But But you, as the participant, have to be honest. And here's what's really weird is you intuitively know that this is all bullshit.
It just feels weird.
Yeah. Yeah. You intuitively go, something's odd about
It's not
this.
right.
Something's really amiss here. And when I listen to this person's story in group therapy, I don't really give a shit. Doesn't make sense. This isn't helping me. It's making me think about drinking and drugging more. And then you go to an AA meeting and the same thing happens. And you know that guy was just out at the bar drinking next to you 3 weeks ago. And so you're going through this strange world where the whole idea is, honesty and ethics and, all this lofty stuff, when the reality is you're playing a charade, the recovery charade.
Yeah. Can I tell us a quick story?
Yeah. People love stories.
So it was early on. It was the first summer that I was in AA. And there was all this talk about rigorous honesty. Actually, was it the first summer, or it was within my first year. And I did what I wasn't supposed to do, right? I moved in with my boyfriend that I met and was with within a few weeks of going to AA. And anyways, so we lived in this apartment, and we got our cable from our landlord who lived downstairs. It's like kind of part of it. And I remember I was at a meeting and somebody was telling this story about rigorous honesty and how they were stealing cable.
I remember this.
Do you remember this story? Why do
I remember it because it became like a theme in meetings. It was so weird.
Stealing cable.
Yeah.
And they were worried it was going to make them relapse.
Yeah.
Like that they were stealing cable. And I remember going to Bob and going, oh, we're in trouble. And Bob looks at me and he goes, we started, when we weren't supposed to. And if that didn't do us in, I'm thinking the cable thing's going to be all right.
Yeah. It's so weird.
So yeah, I didn't make his relapse, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad a little bit mocking it because people take this shit seriously.
Dude, we did. We did. We went down the road. I remember
I was worried.
The rabbit hole of we became this sort of subgroup in AA that we called old-fashioned AA, which what we actually became was a big book thumping cult.
Yeah, we did.
And
it's embarrassing
just
now.
AA is a cult, and so we were a subcult, you could say. And we didn't know that. We were just following the orders of whoever, Bill Wilson, really, the deity, right? The guru, the prophet, Bill Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I remember thinking at the time, wow, this is really weird, because in early AA, which is what we were following, we actually got a copy of the original manuscript.
That's right.
I still have it. The original manuscript. I actually have a copy of the first manuscript that went out before the groups gave their input. And you can see all the groups cross outs and notes of how.
I remember. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. So I had this historical document, and you can find it on the web now. But at the time it was really difficult to find, these paper copies. And so it was all this weird stuff about the four absolutes: absolute honesty, absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute service. And I can't even remember the last absolute, but can you imagine
absolute love?
Absolute love. Maybe I really don't remember. You'd think I'd remember
either.
that, but can you imagine that? Absolute purity, right? What the fuck does that?
I don't think I knew a single person in AA who achieved that.
I don't think I've ever met a human. I don't think, with the exception of maybe Christ himself.
Right.
Does absolute purity exist? I mean, what does that even mean?
Oh my God. Did it come from Bill Wilson of all people?
No, it came from the Oxford group.
Oh,
it was the Oxford group's four absolutes. So we started living this high moral standard. And we would tout this as the thing we were supposed to be doing to stay sober. It was also fucking weird. And at the time, I remember I was repeating it. I was telling people these were the goals, these were the spiritual goals. And now I look back and I'm just horrified at the embarrassment of it all. But
we were young,
yeah,
naive, and we had grown up in it. And so there was, there's a certain amount of comfort in the known. And even with that, though, it felt just weird.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And I remember, doing the third step surrender prayer with people, getting down on our knees as a group.
In the middle of meetings. And
oh God, it was so bizarre.
Yeah. So anybody that we had you do that, we're so sorry.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
We're so sorry. But we genuinely thought at the time it was we were helping people.
Yeah.
And the truth is, even with all of that, we were kind, and our hearts were in the right place.
I think people saw that, and we also lived it. I think to a certain degree, we gave up on our own lives for the service of others because we thought,
sure.
We were trying. We just had all the wrong information.
Yeah.
But there is this weird thing. So here's this methodology that is made or predicated, or the foundation of is 100% untrue. And that is, you have a disease, and that this bottle of booze, right? This bottle has some sort of power over your free will.
Right.
And that idea is so outrageous and stupid. But if you don't mindfully say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. If you don't do that, you just take it as they say it because professionals, quote unquote, are saying it, you take it for granted that people know what they're talking about when they don't. Yeah. And so suddenly you're in this altered reality, and you're going down this path where you really believe that alcohol is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And that's read before every single AA meeting in the world today for 80 years. And so this mythology becomes deep.
It sure does. I mean, is it any wonder that when I decided, we were being interviewed this morning, and I was talking about when I decided to drink for the first time after 20 years, right? And I still had like a weird trepidation about it, like something was going to happen. And I had done all the research, and I knew intellectually, absolutely, that nothing was going to happen. But boy, the mythology, when something is repeated thousands of times, I probably went through that big book with people 100 plus times, right? And then all the thousands of meetings that I went to and listened and read that part of the big book. I'm like, is alcohol am I gonna just all of a sudden go down this pathway where I am not in control?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an odd thing. I think that when you're in it, though, it's so strange because you live your life. Everybody does this. You live your life by the ideas and the way you frame your own world. And so I grew up in this strange world, and I can remember, so I grew up in AA, and then I'm teaching it at the retreat, and I'm trying to figure out what is true and what isn't true. And I can remember, so from my perspective, I had given at this point in my life, let's say I was 20, 21, somewhere in there, just starting the retreats and all that. And I'm trying to teach people to serve others the same way that I was serving them, right? That's the whole point. That's actually how a cult perpetuates itself. Now, you don't realize you're in this sort of pyramid scheme. You don't understand that you're being played the whole time. And so you're just doing this. And I can remember my guests being, when we would get to the service chapters in the big book as I was teaching it, and I knew it was nonsense. Like, my intuition was, I hate all this.
Yeah.
But I have to do it because this is what I'm being told is the answer. And so I remember them reacting with, I'm not doing that. And at that time, I thought everybody had to move to our town, and we called it the fellowship and this whole thing. And we were recreating a very destructive beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous. We were recreating history, and we thought that that's what we needed to do. We needed to get to the core of when AA was successful. What we didn't know until later was that Bill just lied about the beginning, that it was all a sham. There was no success in Manhattan and in New York and in Brooklyn and these places where AA began. There was no success. People were dying. People were being shot because there was affairs. There was all sorts of really crazy shit going on, and it was all hidden. It was never reported on. So we were literally, I had based my life, my living, my career, my research on following this insane, weird, pray it away sort of ethos that was meaningless. And it made it so my life became all about that.
It did.
And it was the very thing that I had rejected just a couple of years prior. And when I got out of rehab and I rejected it, but then I got sucked right back into it. It's unbelievable how powerful misinformation can be.
Well, it's because look at it's kind of like the perfect storm, right? Because you come in and you're vulnerable. Your life is just, you feel out of control. And so it preys on those feelings of, I don't know why I'm drinking anymore, the way I'm drinking. I don't even like it anymore. And it really does feel like, I mean, at the end of my drinking, it was just one day ran into the next, and I got up every morning, made sure I had booze to start my day, and just kept I went to work. I came home from work. I dropped my car off. I'd walk to the bar. I mean, I'd been drinking all day. I was maintaining. Some mornings I got up and went running, believe it or not. But every day ran into the next, and I didn't even know why I was doing it anymore. But I had already been indoctrinated into the idea that I was going to be an alcoholic anyways. So I was living out that life. And so when you go to AA and everybody's telling you that's where you need to be, you just kind of walk in and you accept it. You accept this is my plight. Like, this is the cross I have to bear the rest of my life, is I'm not like other people. And then at the same time, you meet a bunch of people that are like you.
Yeah. That's the thing. Cults can't exist without love bombing at first and matching up your vulnerabilities to a supposed solution.
Yeah.
Nobody goes into a cult knowing they're going to be taken advantage of. Nobody does that. They don't say to themselves, "Oh, I can't wait to get taken advantage of at a vulnerable state," no less. So you go into it with the idea, "Oh, I finally fit somewhere.
Yes.
I'm not lonely anymore, and there's good people here. And AA's been around for a long time."
Yes.
So you're in this state of already massive bias that this is your answer, the gold standard. And it's literally the opposite. It's so destructive.
They make you feel special, right? Yeah. I mean, I actually said that at one point in time, I was probably 6 months sober. I'm grateful that I had this problem. So
my God,
do you know what I mean?
I said that bullshit too.
Like all of that kind of stuff so that I can be here and get this incredible solution. And it's made my life so great. And all the while it felt like a sham, but at the same time it was comforting, and it becomes very confusing.
It does become confusing. You become almost disassociated with yourself after a while. I was so confused. But here's what's interesting about how you end up justifying all of it. If you have a background like I did, or like Michelle did, where AA was just a part of your life, or you've gone for a while, you're going to justify that which you've done.
Yeah.
It's human nature to make value of your time, put value into the things that you've invested in, even if they're painful.
Mm.
So if you invest in something like a really bad relationship, those relationships tend to be very hard to get out of, because the more painful it becomes, believe it or not, the more you're tied to it because you're putting in massive amounts of effort. But then there's a tipping point. All of a sudden that relationship goes in a direction where it just, one day you go, fuck this, I'm out. It breaks. The wall breaks, and you break into a place where the risk of moving on is better. You see it as better than staying in this thing that you've invested in. But I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that are abused,
Yeah.
and they say, but I've put in 20 years in this marriage. I go, you're being beaten. Yeah, I know, but I just, and the investment is so great. AA is like that.
It sure is.
AA is like that.
Well, drinking is like that.
Yeah. Anything that is the results are horrendous. If they're bad enough, you'll tend to cling to it for a period of time. And if you've made a long-term investment, and usually those are the types of situations like the boiling frog in the water, right? It doesn't start out where the water is boiling. It starts out where the frog is happily playing
in nice warm water.
Yeah, nice cool water. And then it goes up a degree every year until he doesn't even realize he's dying. The difference with the frog and a human is a human has rational thought. And there comes a point where he goes, this is fucking hot.
Yeah.
And I can't take it anymore. And I don't want to die. And at that point, you jump off and you get out of the pool and you make a change in your life. But some people don't.
No.
They have an allegiance right to their death because they're just too frightened, or they've been convinced that making a change is going to kill them anyway. So they see no positive drive in making the risk of leaving AA, because they think the hammer of John Barleycorn is over their head and is going to certainly blast them if they leave. So they stay in that boiling water. What a horrible thing to do to people.
It's not even just if they leave, it's if you question it. So if you are in a group that demands rigorous honesty and you're not allowed to ask questions, well, how am I supposed to get to the truth if I can't ask the questions? If the things that don't make sense to me, if you're not willing to answer them.
Yeah.
And for me, right from the beginning, there was a very simple thing that didn't make sense for me early on. And that was, I had already stopped drinking and I did not want to drink again. On my own, right?
Isn't that funny? Yes.
I didn't want to drink again.
Listen to this. So she stopped.
So I stopped, and then 3, 4, 5 days. I think it was 5 days. I the 5th day I went to a meeting because I thought that's what I had to do.
Right. So that's an important point. So think about that. So she goes from a daily drinker. I did the same thing. You're a daily drinker, hardcore user, hardcore, and then you stop.
Yep. And by the way, 6 months earlier, I had stopped daily drug use.
Right. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you stop, and then days go by, and then you think,
I got to go to a meeting.
I'm supposed to do this.
Right. And so I remember, all this talk about you have to do this, this, and this so you don't drink. And I remember, I think I was sober, I don't know, 4 or 5 months at that point. And I'm in the relationship not supposed to be in, and people started finding out, and they're like, oh, you're going to drink.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
And I said, but I don't want to drink. What's going to make me want to drink? What's going to happen? Like, how is that going to happen against my will?
Yeah. And what's interesting is when you have that, when you're a hardcore user, and then you're not going to drink and drug again, there's a peace in that. There's a peace in that. And it's like the person that finally does get out of that boiling water, they get out of that bad relationship, when they really make the decision, they're fucking done.
I was done.
You know what I mean?
I literally, in my mind, I didn't think I was never going to drink again. I guess that's I'm never going to drink like that.
You knew that the problem was over.
Yeah. I'm never going to live like that again.
And what that is you finally understood that you were happier just moving on.
Yeah. That there was nothing that it couldn't do for me what I wanted it to do. I hid out in booze for a couple years because I just didn't want to get on with my life. I just didn't want to. And and I felt like a victim of this and that and the other thing. I had a lot of reasons. But I never bought in, even though I went to school for it all. I never bought into the idea that it was out of my control.
Yeah. So if you're out in the audience right now and you're in that recovery purgatory, and there's things that are niggling at you in the back of your mind and your rational mind that goes, this AA thing doesn't jive. This NA thing doesn't jive. This therapy doesn't jive. I I I know that I'm not going to drink again, or I know that there's got to be a better way because this doesn't make sense.
Right.
Or I keep paying this therapist and something seems hinky with it. Get out. That's your intuition, and your intuition, and anybody that tells you not to follow your intuition,
Right.
let me tell you something, that's the control model.
Yeah. That tells you can't trust your own thinking.
That's right. They have a vested interest, either monetarily or from a power perspective, to make you not trust your own thoughts. So see what the freedom model does is it's really not a method. The freedom model is information. So when I coach somebody, or when she coaches somebody, or one of our coaches coaches somebody, there is no prescriptive thing. I'm not telling you what to do, how to do it. I ask a ton of questions, and then I say, here's a piece of information in chapter 7 that's going to deal with that. Here's a video you can watch that's going to make sense. Here's a piece of my history that I can tell you from my perspective how it worked for me. And so but I don't say you have to do it like me.
No.
Do what I do, get what I got.
Yeah, none of that shit.
Once you start getting into recipes and steps and these little boxes that
one size fits all.
Yeah, you get neatly packed into with identities. Once you get into the labeling game, all of that is designed for someone to raise themselves above you, have power, and financially get their hooks in you. That's what that's designed to do, for you not to think and to be dependent on their methodology. So when the freedom model talks with somebody, when we're being coaches, we're trained. I do the training, she does the training. And I say, you do any of that shit, you're fired.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gone. You're never going to make it here, because I don't tell people how to live their life. I've made those mistakes. I've had my students look at me in the early years and be like, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then I learned my lesson. I said, oh my God, that's the shit that was done to me. Why am I doing that? And that's when I was younger and dumber and ignorant and didn't understand the Socratic method and the things we learned through teaching tens of thousands of people. So yeah, don't let anybody tell you what you should be thinking or have to do. When I can remember people saying, you have to go to meetings. I said, I don't really have to fucking do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'd get really pissed off and be like, I don't have to, and so, yeah, I think it's really important to know that.
Well, and here's another part of this is I had a really good friend who contacted me, and I think I was early in the program at the time. I was, within the first year, and her, I think it was her brother, had gotten in a DUI accident and was killed. It was very tragic. And they forced her entire family. She had another brother that was in treatment, and they're good Irish folks, and drinking was always very important in their family. And she's like, they're telling like this, she's like, something about, I think I was a year in the program at the time. She's like, something about this. They're telling me I'm an alcoholic and I have to, and I have a problem with alcohol. And even then I said to her, she's like, do you think I have a problem? And she was one of my roommates in college. And I said, nobody can tell you have a problem. That's nobody can tell you that drinking is a problem for you. And only you know whether it's you're the only one in your mind. So only you know if it's a problem for you. And now other people can, like, if you're married to someone and you're getting drunk and you're beating the shit out of them, yeah, they might have a problem with that. But for some outside person to come in and assess your family, assess you and say your drinking is problematic, that's a load of shit.
Yeah.
Because there are a great many very successful people who have alcohol as a part of their lives. It's part of their culture, and they don't have a problem with it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
so when
absolutely.
we say something is prescriptive or like comes in, what all of this is it's about other people wanting to tell you how you should live your
Yeah, it's
life.
the control model.
It is. It really is. And I'm not saying that people should get drunk and go drive cars. There are laws that protect either that
Yeah.
say you can't do that, and they're good ones, right? But substance use is the victimless crime.
That's right. It is. And here's why, because the person that is the victim of the poison is choosing it freely.
Exactly.
There is no superior power that's making you drink or drug or look at porn or whatever
or
you're
gamble or
this is all just you. And once you understand that, really understand that, it's freeing.
it is.
It's massively freeing. It's terrifying at first because you're like, fuck, this is all me. You know, I fucked up a lot of things. I've screwed up a lot of things. And that's hard.
It is.
But it's also freeing because I'll never forget my wife. She said to me when she was going through all this, she said, you know, I was happy to learn it was me, that I had a mind of my own, because every time somebody came up to me and at a rehab or wherever, you know, or a therapist and said, you know, you're this way because of your trauma, you're this way. Well, we can't change those things. If you base who you are is what you were, and that's where the key lies, that's untouchable because the past is gone, you know? So if you have to constantly go in reverse, it's the opposite of how humans move on from things. That's why we call it moving on from things. We don't say going backwards for a solution. Nobody says that. That's not a term, right? Right.
Exactly.
We intuitively know that it's okay to let go of pain of the past. And you don't necessarily have to do some big catharsis of pain. My God, if I had to relive everything, I'm going to tell a story. Can I tell a quick story?
Please.
This just hit me. So about 5 years ago, I had a period in my life where I had confronted some things about my childhood completely out of the blue. Completely out of the blue. I had somebody contact me, mention a bunch of things that I had forgotten about that I really didn't want to think about. And it unearthed some ugly shit. And I was like, you know, I really don't want to think about this. So I kind of I was like, you know what? I've moved on from all that. And I moved on. Well, over the next about 2 years, I would get these thoughts of really bad things that I hadn't remembered.
Mhm.
And they were revealed to me. And it would hit me. And I'd be like, oh my God. And it was very visual. This is true. This happened to me. And this happened for a period of 2 years. Then, and this ended about a year ago. So the first 2 years out of the 5 years, first 2 years was bad things. Boom, boom. And the cadence was very regular, and they would wash into my mind. I might be on my motorcycle. I'd be like with Danielle, I'd be like, it just happened again. I just remembered something that I don't know where it came from. So I'd say probably that was maybe 100 different scenes had played in my mind that I had no recollection of. I wasn't asking for this, but I was able to process it at a time in my life where I was very strong. And then a period of time happened where nothing happened, about 2 or 3 months, and then good things, flashbacks of good things, an equal amount of time. Now, some people might say that's God, that's this. I don't know what the fuck it is. All I can tell you is that I remembered things because it was very hard for me to remember the good things in my youth because it was so bad. Okay. So the bad was revealed, span of time, and then the good was revealed. And for about 2 years, this would happen. And it was awesome because I was like, oh my God, I remember Monica by the river and, my sister Mo. And then, and it always involved my siblings, and moments in time, smells would be visceral. It was very weird. It was very weird. And when I got to the tail end of that, I feel like I was healed. Now I'm going to tell you that I think that was me. I don't think it was God. I don't think it was anything like that. Maybe it was for the religious. Maybe that's why you're interpreting it. I don't know. But I think I was just ready. And I wanted to finally see my life, that it was good and it was bad. And exactly for what it was, with new memories that I hadn't thought about in a long time. And I was just ready. After that happened, I haven't looked back at all. I just haven't. I'm like, it's all good, man. Everybody's life is a big pile of shit and a lot of good things too. And some of us have a lot more bad than good, whatever. But I guess the point is that's the honesty of my life, and it's all inside of me, and your honesty is yours. So don't let other people write your script for you, tell you what you should be thinking, tell you what traumas you need to unearth. It'll happen on its own. Trust me. When you're in a marriage, you'll be dealing with things that your parents did to you. You know why? Because you'll remember that they were married and they acted like assholes, and now you're acting like an asshole to your. Trust me, you're not going to have to go rooting in and mixing up the pot with some therapist as some way to heal yourself. You don't need all that.
Well, and you don't need to heal yourself to solve your substance use problem.
That's a great point too.
That's
a great point.
Deal with, maybe you have a reason that you like to get drunk or high that has to do with escaping bad feelings or something like that. You think that it can help you to feel better at a moment when you don't feel great or whatever. But the idea that you have to, you said catharsis, right? The idea that you have to do a fourth step where you write your life story, where you write all the shit, none of the good stuff, just all the bad stuff that you did and that happened to you, right? So you write all that stuff down. Then you got to read it to someone who, oh, by the way, is probably going to go tell 16 people about your deepest, darkest secrets, because nobody can seem to keep a goddamn secret in the cult. I have a little trauma there. But you're if I heard your fifth step, I told no one, just so you know.
Yeah, same.
I did keep that.
I didn't fuck around
stuff
with
in
that.
confidence. But there are a lot of people that don't. And I heard a lot of fifth steps, and I always thought this shit doesn't matter. This shit doesn't matter.
Yeah. So let me talk about that. So if you believe that alcohol tames trauma, past trauma, and somehow you've connected these things, we have an entire chapter called Learned Connections, where you take the idea that alcohol solves trauma, solves stress, solves anxiety, and solves whatever. And we have to get rid of that idea first.
Right, because they can't do that.
It can't do that. So once you figure out that alcohol or drugs or whatever doesn't heal you or help you or make you escape from, once you get that, then what you have done is you've taken the value of alcohol off of the traumatic instance. So it can't heal this traumatic instance, right? Event. So once you've separated those, the learned connections, right? Here's stress and trauma and alcohol use. Somehow they heal each other. They don't. Once you take the alcohol out of the equation, then the question is, do I really need to go back in time and look at this thing? Well, you might not. That's all up to you. I can tell you that I do not relive. There are probably 4 events that I am massively ashamed of. Things that I did that are really horrible things. I didn't even tell anybody about these things until probably 2 years ago when I was going through this process. And it was my wife that I told. And she was shocked with some of it because it was a long time ago, but my God, am I ashamed of these things? And I said, I want to say it once, and I never want to talk about this again. She's good. Cool. And that's just, and I've moved on because I can't go back and change those things. I can't, so it is what it is. And I'm not that guy anymore.
But But you didn't need to say them to solve a substance use problem.
Right. Yeah. So that's good that you brought it back around.
Because
That's the point.
I mean,
That's the
that's
point.
it. I mean, there's things that I have done that I have never talked about with anybody. So, just be, and they're in the past and I leave them in the past, and that's the way it is. And no, they weren't in my fourth step and they weren't in my fifth step, and because they're nobody's fucking business.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's
you know what I mean?
Point. Yes.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I've made peace with myself, and I don't. So it's whatever. But look at it. If you have tied it in and you believe, I have to like confess, and I have to,
or else I'll drink whiskey
about it,
or else I'll drink whiskey. Right.
Then, you probably, if you have those beliefs, then they're going to keep you stuck. And what I can say is it is not objectively true that that substance use or PMOing or whatever behavior you do is tied to your deepest, darkest secrets.
Right. Or dishonesty.
That's right. It's not.
That's right.
I mean, shit, there were so many people in AA that were screwing around with their best friends.
Oh, dude.
I mean, and they were all staying sober.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are plenty of people who live completely feckless or criminal or all over the map.
Yeah.
Lives who don't drink.
No, who don't have a substance use problem or their addiction.
Right. So there's sort of a it's all over the map. But if you believe, like Michelle said, if you believe that it's tied to your honesty, that your sobriety is tied to all these spiritual sort of lofty goals of the four absolutes, my God, it's a hard thing to live with.
Yeah.
That's a standard that you're going to fail at. And then you're going to go get shit faced. And now you have an excuse to do that. And what a waste of time. Yeah. Why play these games when it's all a charade?
It is all of this a charade. So we'll bring it back to the original, which is you literally live in constant cognitive dissonance. When you're doing these things, right, to keep at bay an imaginary disease.
This is the recovery tap dance.
Okay. Where the imaginary disease, where every day I have to wake up and remind myself I'm powerless over alcohol or whatever you fill in the blank, right? Every day I wake up and tell myself I'm powerless so that I can go through my day choosing not to engage in drinking or drug using or whatever behavior. Like, that is totally messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I have to admit, I have to accept, accepting that you're powerless, accepting your affliction in order to keep it at bay. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So this whole rigorous honesty thing, it renders that moot because you are literally playing a charade.
So here's the answer. So now we'll tie it up with this. Since alcohol has no capacity or mind of its own to fix anything within you, it's a fairly meaningless habit. But if you have placed value and meaning and given it the power that it does take care of all these emotional problems, well, then you've elevated it to a very high needy thing, something you need. And for your emotional stability, we've built that drug up. So the first thing you need to do is go through the chapters that deal with learned connections, the positive drive principle, chapters 17 through 21, debunk all of this stuff about drugs and alcohol. Then the question is, on the honesty level, do I need to be honest to be happy? I don't know the answer for you. There are people that live lives, double lives. They have multiple wives, girlfriends. They have infidelity. They have all these things that they're juggling. And frankly, I know people like that, and they seem to just do it fine. I mean, their lives are chaotic, but that's what they've chosen for themselves. That's the way they want to live their life. And so I think that you have to decide how you're going to live your life, what level of honesty matters to you, what level of ethics matter to you. And do I think that an honest life is a good one? Yes, I do. I think that that's a good way to live. Do I think that having an ethical life and kind life and being merciful to people and being charitable, yeah, these are all things that are sort of the Christian ideals that make sense, that make for a good life. So as long as you're aiming towards that, you're probably going to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not doing those things, it's just going to make it more complicated. It just makes it more complicated and exhausting, because living a double life is like that, So but that has nothing to do with drinking and drugging.
No. And what Mark said is true. I want you to think about something as we leave you for the week, and that is that both recovery, addiction treatment, and the booze and drug industry both put alcohol and drugs on a pedestal. So if you're trying to solve a heavy substance use problem on this one hand, and you go to treatment and recovery, all you're doing is you're still keeping alcohol and drugs in a place that it doesn't belong. And that is up on this pedestal.
Yeah, you're building it up.
All powerful elixir, this all powerful thing that on the one hand you do to excess because it's all powerful and magical. And on the other hand, you have to deny yourself of because it's so powerful that it's going to take over your life. Neither is true. And so what the freedom model does is we take it and put it in its rightful place, which is just an inert substance that you can choose to use or not use. Maybe it makes you feel a little tickle in your brain, slows things down, speeds them up. That's it. Once you see it for what it is, you unplug from that matrix, solving the problem is easy.
And then when that primary problem is out of your life, you may now have a window of opportunity with a clean mind to look at your life and go, fuck, my life is kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And I have some things to clean up, and then get to cleaning it up to the level that you want to, with people you can trust. Or if you're like me and you had nobody, you just got to figure it out on your own and move on.
Well, and living in the truth is easier.
Yeah.
When you see the truth for what it is, it's easier. It's more comforting. Living in cognitive dissonance is stressful.
Yeah. So when you add in a cult into your life, it really takes you on a goose chase, a futile goose chase. It's not a solution, folks. It'll keep you from yourself, and you are the solution.
You are. So thank you, everyone. If you like our podcast, please share it, like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Freedom Model YouTube channel. Give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen or watch.
And remember, we will always have coaching for you. So if you want to be taught by Michelle and I, we have the Complete Addiction Solution Program where you can come in, fly in,
you can
or drive in.
Spend a few days with us.
Yeah, spend a few days together with us. And we take one person at a time for that. We also have the Solution to Addiction workshops for both substance use, and a separate one for PMO and porn addiction, sex addictions now. And they're pre-recorded. And it's a 3-hour course you can go through. We also have the deprogramming from the 12 steps course as well. So if you're in the cult and you're trying to get out, or you're in that recovery purgatory, which is really what we've talked about all this entire 45 minutes, that course will really help you move away from the cult.
And we have coaching. If you just want to do coaching over Zoom, one-on-one, with myself or Mark or one of our other coaches, we have different coaching packages. What we like to do is usually have a conversation with you to see what your needs are, what you're struggling with. For PMO addiction, we have a great 3 coaching session package. We combine that with the workshop. It works very, very well in 3 sessions. We have had great success helping people to solve that problem. And when you get coaching with us, you also always get the online program, so you get the book, the workbook, the online program, which takes you through this entire book. He and I teach it. So when you're
And-
working with me or with him, I might say, hey, go to the online program and check out chapter 7. Watch those 3 videos from chapter 7.
Yeah. So not only the online program has over 120 videos, just to put it in perspective. Not only that, but you're going to get the new books with the
Oh, yeah,
workshop.
with the workshop.
So we have addendum books to this that are right around 100 pages each.
That are only available with the workshop.
Yep.
So, gosh, go to Are you struggling with a drug or alcohol problem, but you don't want to go to rehab or group meetings? Well, that's why we created the non-12-step Freedom Model Coaching Program in 2011. Through video conferencing on Zoom or Skype, you can work privately with a certified Freedom Model coach from your home or office on your schedule. And here's the best part. With the Freedom Model, you'll never be labeled an addict or an alcoholic, and we won't tell you to go to 12-step meetings or hamper your life with endless recovery rituals. Instead, you can learn exactly why addiction isn't a disease and how you can solve the problem for good and move on with your life. Do you want to be completely free from your addiction? Do you want to never have to attend meetings, rehabs, or addiction counseling ever again? And do you want to solve your problem from the comfort of home? Then call us at 888-424-2626 to talk with a Freedom Model coach today and experience the Freedom Model difference.